Page 138, Sonata Quasi Una Fantasia, otherwise known as a Moonlight Sonata, and this is the first movement of that. It's one of the most famous pieces ever written. Everybody plays this one way or another. Most of the simplified arrangements of it have it in some other key because it's actually written in C sharp minor here. And so they'll change it to like a C minor or some easier key with not so many accent or sharps and flats in it. This is the real McCoy here. This is the way it is. It's not as bad as it looks, but I'd like to talk about it and point out some things. In the right hand, the melody is in the right hand most of the time, but the left hand gets some counter melody, and we want to bring that out when the time comes. So at the beginning of here, you have this constantly pulsating triplet going on. So you have a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now the speed, the tempo they're showing here is adagio sostenuto. Adagio is slow. Sostenuto is like a sustained. What they're telling you is don't get carried away. I have problems with different editions of this. You look at the different editions carefully. This one is in common time. But a lot of the editions I've seen, the like Urtext editions, it's actually in cut time. 2 beats per measure. And I've asked professionals, why is this, what's going on here? Nobody's ever replied to me. I don't know them, why should they reply to me? But it's like, or maybe they think, what do you mean cut time? It's not cut time, it's a common time. So I'm a little confused about the time signature. But I've always taken this more of a 4/4 time, a feel of 4/4 time, because if I take it in a cut time, it's too fast. And some people play this rather fast. Horowitz tried playing it in cut time, and when you listen to his recording, he went back and said, no, I don't want any of that, and he slowed it way down because it was just way too fast. So we're going to take it in 4/4 time. I'm going to take both hands together here, and it's here. And at the beginning of this, see that the melody doesn't come in until the second bar of the second line. So all of this is kind of introduction type, setting the mood. And what I want is to hear the left hand, just slightly. And I'm just rotating, I'm transferring the weight in my right hand on these, there's no fingers really, I'm just kind of transferring weight, and the wrist will do whatever the wrist does. So at the beginning, they're going 1, 2, 4. That's fine. I do 1, 3, 5. You'll decide how you want to do it. They're doing 2, 4 because in the last couple of triplets on the line, it's 1, 3, 5 here. But because it's one note at a time, I tend to do a 1, 3, 5 on these and a 1, 3, 5 on those, and whatever. You'll have to decide which fingering you're going to use. Very softly, and that's to the left hand right now. The right hand is just hardly making any noise at all. Then here I'm going to get just a hair louder. And then that first measure of the second line, and the triplets, I bring out the first note just a little bit more there. Now the melody comes in, and it's soft. So when we have this starting with when the melody comes in and the last measure of that second line with everything going on, to me the most important part is the melody. After that it's the bass. And then this fill, that's under everything. So I want to hear this and this and then this. So these dotted rhythms, I use a 5/4/5 on most of them. Because to me, it's a surer fingering than trying to use 5 on every one. Sometimes if I try and use 5, I don't get all the way up and I try and play it again and it doesn't play. But if I use separate fingers on these, that helps. Now some of the stretches are too big for me to do that comfortably. I should probably, but I don't. So I use 5 on those. But here, it's 5/4/5 for me. means it's got to be a 1, 2, 3 for the triplet. And then second measure, third line, it's here. I do a 1, 2, 3 because I'm saving the fourth finger for the F sharp. And the last measure of that line is just a quarter note on the E. And then going on, second measure, last line on page 138 is here. Notice I'm holding that melody note down. Now here I have to use the fifth finger on the top both times because I'm using the 4 on the F. Page 139, first measure, last beat is 4 on the can you, if your hand's big enough, you do a 4 here. If not, you'll have to use a little finger. You don't have a choice, but I use 4 there. And the left hand, second measure, you see the finger substitution. Last measure, the first line, the first note is a quarter note. See the stem going down? So hold it down for the full beat. And then the fourth finger for the B, the melody, and the left hand's tied. Now we have a swell. Again, with any swell, you have to find the note or notes in the middle where it's the highest or the loudest part of the swell. That's your point. Here, it's like the left hand's doing up to here, here, and then come back down. And that's your swell. The triplets are following the left hand as far as dynamic goes. They're staying under it, they're softer, but they're going to get a little louder to support the change in the left hand. The right hand can't do anything. That B, that C, once it's played, you're done. You can't swell it. So it's here. And then come down. Now we're going to do it again. Fourth finger, if you can reach it, on the B. So it's come down. It's an E sharp. As the melody comes down, you can get a little softer. And the fourth line down, second measure, the first note in the right hand, that's a quarter note. See the stem going down? Hold it down for a beat. And then going on. Get a little louder, not much. Still louder. This is where we're going to. Now you can come down to soft, and the last line, first measure in the right hand. Don't hang on to anything. Then now you've got quarter notes, 3/4 notes. Now you're going to hang on to those. This is one of the reasons you practice this without pedal, so you can hear this stuff, because you want to finger it that way. So that first measure, it's here, and then swell up, go to here, down. Again, I don't like this, I've never liked this fingering. Here, in the second measure, they've got 2, 4, and the thumb's doing all this melody. No. Second measure of the last line, the right hand, it's a 3, 5, and then a 1. Hold it down. It's a quarter note too. There's a stem going down. And then a 2, and then a 1, and then a 1. This. That's what we want, and you're going to swell it to here, and then come down. And that's an 8th note. See the stem going down is an 8th note? Because now you're coming up here. Same thing, only now you're up here. Swell. Those are quarter notes. Hold them down. So the last 2 measures of that page. Here here they got a 1, 5, 2. That's okay. And when you get to page 140 here at the top, at the first measure, again, you have the C sharp E. Those are quarter notes. Remember, there's a bass clef in this, so it's here. Yeah, that's swell. Come down. And then this broken arpeggio here. You can use their fingering. I use a different fingering. Different people will use different fingerings on these arpeggios. I can't tell you one way or the other. You're going to have to experiment. You can try their fingering out if you want. It's here in the right hand. Basically, you're fingering this. It's a 7th chord, and you're trying to more or less cover as many notes as you can, and so you don't have to change hand positions any more than you have to. Well, oh, it's here to start. And the next position they're using is here, and then the next position is here. And that's fine if that's what you want. It works. And the next one. If you don't want to put a thumb on a black note, change your fingering so you're only using thumb on the white notes. They're showing this fingering. The last measure, the first line is 1, 4, 1. That's okay if you don't mind putting a thumb on the black note. Otherwise, you've got to go a 1, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 1. And you'll figure these things out. I'm sure I use a different fingering than what they're suggesting, but this fingering is fine if you just use it. I don't want to go through each note here and point it out to you. You should be able to do that on your own, I hope. Let's go down to the 3rd line. You're here. Now, look at the stems going down. The D sharp and connected to the C sharp. And then going down to the B sharp. That's what we want to hear. Bring those out. And hold that B sharp down. And again, quarter notes going down, the stems going down. D natural, still a quarter note. Now no more quarter notes, it's just this. And you're going back to the original melody at the beginning, etc. And that takes us over to page 141. 4th line down, you're ending. Yes, it's an F sharp. And then the 2nd measure, it's a quarter note. Hold it down for 2/8 notes. Then the left hand gets the melody, so it's here. I like to do a 1, 2, 1, but if you can do 1 on all of them, it's up to you. Just make sure on all of these dotted rhythms, the short note, the 16th note, comes after the triplet, not with it. So here, it's now again, we got these broken chords. The next to the last line, 2nd measure over, the last beat, there's a quarter note. See the stem going up? Hold that down on the B sharp. And again, the last line, the last beat in that first measure, there's a quarter note. And I just cross over. So I want to reiterate on that dotted rhythm thing because I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the piece on 138 in the 2nd line and 2nd measure, when the right hand has that 16th note comes after the 8th note triplet, not during it or any time. So it's so make sure you get that on all of them. All the way through it. Some people don't cut down. Let's add the pedal. For the most part, it's legato pedal throughout, but I'd like to make a few suggestions. At the beginning, I'm going to push the pedal down right after I play the notes, and I'm going to change it at the measure when the harmony changes, and I'm going to do it right after I play the notes. Try to. At the measure, see, they put a pet simile there and really says keep doing what you're doing while you're legato pedaling it. Okay, we'll change it with a harmony, or when things start getting blurry, you don't want any blurriness. So last measure, the second line is here. Thing. I did a recording of this on my other channel. I'll put a link, and there's all kinds of recordings of professionals. You want to hear how different people interpret this. It's really interesting how everybody looking at the same piece of music, and yet they play it so differently sometimes. It's really nice. It's one of the beautiful things I like about music. Last measure on page 138 is here. I'm going to change it on each harmony change. Here, here, here. Here. So I changed it on each beat on that measure because the harmony's changing. And here, the last two beats, change it. Here and here. Now, a lot of times when I'm playing this measure, the last measure, the first line on page 139, I don't put the pedal down until the second beat. Because to me, it helps me feel that quarter note melody. That's bomb, and it's done. And so if I put the pedal down, to me, it's hanging on. So if I don't pedal to the second beat, because I'm holding that beat down, it's going to sound. And here I'm pedaling with each beat here, because I don't want it too blurry. I don't want too much sound. This is our first measure, the second line. I don't worry about a break in the phrase so much. If I did, I would lift the pedal up right before I play the last beat in that second measure, so it's here. But in this piece, it doesn't matter that much. I can't really tell the difference. I'm used to hearing it all together. So the phrasing is more felt than heard. So, again, the second measure. And change the pedal again, change the pedal again. Just change it with each harmony thing. That gets us down to the bottom of the page. Here. I've experimented with this, and you'll have to decide what you like better. You can pedal it and change it on each beat, or just don't pedal that measure. But if you're pedaling throughout here on these triplets, you might want that same sound here. But pedal on each beat here, and then next measure, pedal on each beat. Last measure on each beat. On page 140, again on each beat. And here, you can leave the pedal down for each measure. Or you could pedal every two beats, starting with the second measure there, it's here. Change pedal here. then the third line down, first measure, it's... And again, change the pedal with the F sharp, so it's clean, and then again on the last beat. And change the pedal with the melody. We don't want to smear the melody notes. Now you're back to just changing with the harmony. And I lift the pedal up on this measure. This is the fourth line down, last measure. I lift the pedal up on the third beat to clean out all the sounds, so when the melody comes in, it's kind of a clean start, so it's here. Etc. Now we get over to page 141. Change it, it's like in the second line. Change it with what the left hand is doing, because it's here in the first measure. Change pedal. Change pedal. Change pedal, and now I'm with each beat. Now back to what's a measure. Change pedal, and I lift the pedal up here. These notes are by themselves, and they're clean. We're coming to an end. We're finally finishing us. All this mess is finishing up, and now it's the last three measures is here. Now pedal each of these. It's a legato pedal, and at the end you're very soft. And again, I'm going to lift the keys up, and I'm going to leave my hands on the keys, and then I'm going to slowly lift the pedal and let the sound die away gently. See, when you slowly lift the pedal like that, the dampers gradually touch the strings on an acoustic piano, and they just die, the sound dies. You don't want to be down here real soft and sweet and then suddenly just stop. It's like, what happened? If you're on an electronic piano, that doesn't work real well. You have to actually, after you play the notes, then you have to reach up to the volume control, leave the pedal down, and just turn the volume control down until the sound dies away for the effect. I could talk a lot more on this, but hopefully you get the idea of what's going on. There are some notes in here that aren't what you think they will be. Beethoven has switched them, so be very careful and check your notes out very carefully. Without pedal at first, so you can hear the notes. But it'll throw you if you're not ready. And that finishes this book. Congratulations, you're ready to go give concerts or something. I don't know what you're going to do. There are lots of anthologies and things that are available out there, or sheet music, whatever you want to play. It's up to you. If you've reached this level, have fun. If you have questions, feel free to ask.